My name is Anita Devi, and it's my privilege and honour to spend about 30 minutes with you today, just talking through SEND, leading with love. Because I do believe love has to look like something. As a previous SENCO and a SEND leader in many different areas, as well as having taught overseas and developed leaders internationally, I want us to spend some time today just deconstructing what does love look like in our leadership role. I currently have set up and lead Team ADL. ADL means justice in Arabic, and we are a multi-agency of professionals that serve the industry in developing leaders. So we believe in investing in leaders, we believe in the well-being of leaders, and we believe that actually if we have a healthy workforce, this will feed into the children and young people that we care so much about, the children and young people that we want to see grow and thrive into fulfilling adults, living out their destiny, fulfilling their purpose, and contributing to the economy. So please bear with me as I take you through my thoughts around what it means to lead with love. And this can be applied to SEND leaders, but also other leaders as well. SEND. It's all about leading with love, because love looks like something. Love isn't an emotion. Emotions are things that are expressed, neurophysical changes, things that we often see on someone's face or by their temperament. It's linked to thoughts, feelings, behavioral responses, reflections of pleasure or displeasure. And as I said, it reflects our temperament, our mood, our personality, our disposition, creativity, and motivation. Love is something we feel. It's a driver. It can motivate us, but it is much more. It is an intensity of deep affection. And I think as a leader, we need to feel and act lovingly towards those who we lead, those who we serve, and those who we come into contact with, our peers. So it's about making an intentional choice and having self-awareness. And I'd like to present to you an idea of a spectrum where at one end we have truth and at the other end we have love. When there is conflict or a difference of opinion, which will happen when you get more than one person in the room, do you err on the side of being loving and almost people-pleasing so that you are giving in to whatever everyone else wants, not stating your own opinion and steering away from what you really believe? Or are you someone who just stands by the truth? This is how it should be. This is what it says. Maybe enshrined in law, maybe, kind of from some sort of legalistic perspective, this universal concept of truth. Is that where you stand? Because both ends are very extremist. Both ends damage relationships. If we take the hard, fast route of truth and place that over relationships and love, we lose people along the way. So we may win the battle, but we lose the war. Equally, if we bend over backwards, people please, and give in all our ideals, not only will we feel frustrated, but actually people won't see our authentic self. Loving leadership lies in between these two extremes. It's about knowing the truth and framing our position in that truth and our belief in that truth, but it's also about loving others, acknowledging them, acknowledging our own perspective, and bringing that together. So loving leadership lies somewhere in the middle of those two. Deconstructing love much further. I'd like to share with you three concepts. And as I've said previously, for me, love has to look like something. So the first concept is around yourself. And there are three things around us as individuals and leaders we need to think about. How do we demonstrate our own vulnerability? How are we relational with others? How much self-awareness do we demonstrate? The second construct is around others. How do we care for others? How do we show that we care? How do we give trust? And how, more importantly, do we really listen? The third construct is around when we take actions. We've all, at some point in our lives, met someone who says one thing and does another, or says one thing and does nothing, and that's frustrating. So authentic leaders follow through with the action. And in terms of action, I would like us to think about how we paint pictures, how we shine a light, and how we create moments of awe and wonder. Leadership is about teams. And so if we kind of put all of these three things together, not only do we develop healthy teams that can serve and address some of the problems we face in society and in education, but also we build teams that work together, that grow together. So I'm going to break some of these down. I'm going to start with being vulnerable. I like the work of Brené Brown, and this quote really sums it up. You know, vulnerability sounds like the truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never a weakness. So being vulnerable is about admitting when we're wrong. We're not always going to be right, and sometimes we mess up. It's about being honest when we don't know, but actually saying, I can find out, and showing that willingness to find out. Think about this in terms of special education needs and disability. We won't know everything as leaders. We won't know about different conditions as they evolve and we do more research, but we can be committed to finding out and developing our knowledge and being honest with others in the room. And being vulnerable is also not taking ourselves seriously. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay as long as it doesn't affect others in a high risk way, but it's okay to be you. Being a loving leader is also about being relational. And this is about us intentionally investing in relationships and promoting teams. I'm not really good, if I'm honest, with remembering names. It is one of the things that I always struggled as a classroom teacher. I would have to learn the names in the summer holidays intentionally and kind of position them in their seating places to some way trigger that for me. In my current role, I meet a minimum of 200 to 300 people a week. And again, names do not come easily to me. But I intentionally try and remember something about that person, something they've told me about their children, their interests, their favorite color, food. And I use those things that I can remember about them to invest in the relationships, to kind of build on those relationships. I also believe that leadership is a strong part of teams. And those schools I work with in terms of special needs and disability, we always talk about the team across the school, because everyone has something to contribute to the team. So as a SEND leader, as someone involved in SEND, how do you promote teams? We can improve our relationships with others by leaps and bounds if we become encouragers instead of critics. How true. It's very easy to find what's not there, but it's much better to say what's working and what we appreciate. Make time to laugh and have fun. I believe in this, and many a time I've had feedback from the training sessions I've developed, and people have said, Anita has a quirky sense of humour. And I love that, because if I've been able to make someone laugh in the day in a way that lightens the mood, given them something to remember, then that's great. How much of your day do you make time to laugh? Draw out the treasure in others. This is a phrase that has been used, and it's about seeing what the goodness of others is that they bring to our team. If we assume that the whole setting and the whole school or organization that we're in is our team, what does everyone bring to the table? And we don't want everyone bringing the same thing. So drawing out the treasure in others is valuing the diverse gifts and talents and experiences and background that everyone brings to the organisation. Be aware. We perceive things through a lens, and sometimes we're just not always aware that our assumptions or our words, our behaviours are determined by that lens. So if we were to change that lens, would our behaviours change? Would our words change? We need to know our own assumptions and challenge them. We also need to recognise that others perceive and experience things very different from ourselves. When I'm talking to children about this, I often use the beach ball example. So if you had a beach ball which has got its various colours around it, and let's say two children have had an argument, place two children on the side of the beach ball. One can see white, one can see blue. And if I was to ask the children what can they see, they'll tell me their respective colours. And then I can share with them, but they're looking at the same ball. They were looking at the same argument, whatever the argument was about, the difference of opinion. So sometimes we need to just take time to see the whole picture and recognise that others see it differently and ask them, what is their perception of this? We can get carried away with our feelings. And as we said earlier, emotions are not the same as love. So it's important that we take time to check out our feelings and define the balance between truth and love, and see that where we position ourselves. Are we working from a place of anger? Are we working from a place of disappointment? Or are we working from a place of hope and genuine belief that things can change? Daniel Chidiak is an author, and he writes, being self-aware is not the absence of mistakes, but the ability to learn and correct for them. If we see all the major advances in life, in technology, in other spheres of industry and the world, they have come about through someone making a mistake, recognizing this was a mistake, and learning from it. So what's your daily learning? Moving on to others. How do we care for others? I love this by Theodore Roosevelt. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I strongly believe in treating people like family. It's the way I've always worked. My work colleagues, they know that my kitchen is always open for them to come and have a cup of tea, to sit, to chat. I have an open door policy. But just like my own family, we treat others like family. It means that, you know what, we want the best for them. We will go out of our way to ensure that they achieve that best, but also that no harm comes to them. We need to be concerned and supportive of the well-being of others. And that's not just tokenistic in possibly the latest initiative or thinking around asking how they are, but actually genuinely knowing what feeds their well-being. We're all very different. And for me, as an introvert, I actually like downtime to support my well-being. I need some time out on my own. I need to be doing some activities that others would actually find incredibly stressful. But equally, the activities others do to support their well-being, maybe it's running, maybe it's walking the dog, none of that really helps me. So each of us has a different activity, a different input that will support our well-being. So when we're concerned about others and their well-being, that's one element. But what would make the difference? I think we are a nation that often, if someone compliments us or says something nice about us, we find it uncomfortable. I do this activity with many trainee teachers, I do it with children, and I have done it with leaders as well. And there's this sense of, oh, someone said that positively about me. We find it hard to receive compliments. And I think, would the world be a different place if every day we woke up and made it our intent to compliment genuinely and see good in at least 3 people throughout our day? People would learn to receive. People would learn to value and know how valued they are. And so I'd like to challenge you and think about, how do you let your team and others know that you value what they bring to the team. Give trust. The quote I have here is from Corrie ten Boom. Corrie ten Boom is an author, but she was from a family, a Dutch family, that were watchmakers. And she writes extensively how they escaped the Nazis during World War II. Her book is a remarkable story. The struggles, the challenges, all of the things they experienced in a world that many of us will never know, thankfully. But all the way through, the one thing Corrie talks about is how she had a heart to forgive those who had abused, those who had treated her badly, those who had disrespected her. And she places forgiveness really high on her value system. And forgiveness is a facet of trust. So how do we give trust to others? I find forgiveness very powerful, and forgiveness affects me more than it does the person who's offended me. I don't have to go and say to them, I forgive you, but in my heart, I need to know I have forgiven them. And in forgiving them, I release any tension, any negativity, any hatred, or any aspect of emotion that would hold me back from being the best I can. So think about how you give trust. Think about how you forgive. Helping that on a day-to-day basis, it's really important that we share knowledge and information. Learning, advancement doesn't happen in a vacuum. Okay? We were not created to be isolated individuals. We were created to live in community. And so if we share knowledge, we share our information, we grow together. There's an African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. I choose to go far. So I choose to go with others. And that does involve us sharing knowledge and information and recognizing others can add to that and develop it and grow it. And together we can become better than we are. It's about being human. And we've already talked about that facet of that in terms of making mistakes. We all do it. We're infallible. But it takes humility to say, hey, I've messed up. I need some help. To reach out, to give a lending hand, and finally to take risk on others. If we're building teams, we need to trust others. We need to give them a framework and say, go ahead and see what you can do. Give them that opportunity for their creativity. Give them that opportunity to bring their own ideas and their own solutions. Give them that opportunity to have a voice. When we give trust, we gain trust. The third dimension of others is about really listen. And this is one of my favorite quotes from Simon Sinek. Those of you who've seen the Code of Practice postcard that I summarized the key points of the Code of Practice on a postcard for teachers will know that I inserted this particular quote because for me it sums up the way that we should be having multi-agency meetings, the way we should be having person-centered meetings. Listening is not understanding the words of the question asked. Listening is understanding why the question was asked in the first place. So how do we do this? First and foremost, get to know the whole person. We've already talked about this at some level, but some of you will also know that I'm very fond and a great advocate of the one-page profile, which is one of the person-centered thinking tools. The one-page profile asks and invites young people, children, and even adults to share 3 things. The first is about things that are important to them. What matters to them? Whether that be meeting with family and friends, playing on their Xbox, or walking their dog. If that's important to them, I want to know about it. The second question in a one-page profile is about, what do others think of me? And this relates back to us drawing out the treasure and receiving positive feedback. Sometimes we actually play ourselves down. And when someone actually else tells us what they think of us and the goodness they see in us, we can be a little bit surprised because our perception doesn't entirely match up with theirs. but we have to be brave and bold enough to listen what others think of us and accept those positive qualities. The third question on a one-page profile is how best to support me. I strongly believe that most people know what they need. Sometimes they just don't know how to ask. But if we give them an opportunity to say, this is how it works for me, this is what I need. So I'm very clear every day, I need at least 2 hours of downtime to support myself and my well-being. What is it people need? Are you clear for yourself? Are you clear for your team? Do you ask people? When we've heard from others, we need to show that we've heard. And that isn't just, we talk a lot about body contact, body language, eye contact, repeating what they've said. All of those are good strategies, good techniques to actually demonstrate what you've heard, that you've heard. But actually, it's more than that. It's about processing it and actually connecting what you're hearing to other information, joining those dots up, and actually then checking out whether the way we've joined the dots up makes sense and checking out our assumptions. And finally, acting on what people have said. People will share their thoughts, their feelings, their wishes, and their views if they know something is going to come of it. Section 19 in the Code of the Children and Families Act 2014 and the SEND Regulations 2014. Section 19 talks about the principles that underpin what we do for children and young people with special educational needs and disability. And there are 3 guiding principles that determine our behaviours, our actions, and the work we do. First and foremost, we must have regard for the views, feelings, wishes, and values of children and young people and their families. Secondly, we need to involve them in decision making. Individuals grow when they have ownership of something in their lives. So it's important that we don't make decisions for them, but we make decisions with them. We don't talk to them, but we have conversations with them. So think about how you involve young people and children in decision making. The third principle in Section 19 of the Children and Families Act 2014 is that we prepare young people for adulthood. So we need to listen into their interests. What is it they're interested in when they grow up? What information do they have? What information do they need? Do they need to connect with someone to find out more? How can we help them be the best that they can? And finally, moving on to that third dimension, where we talk about, under the dimension of action, we talk about painting pictures. What if your vision board came true? This is the question I'm going to pose to you. I don't know if you do a vision board. I've done them over a couple of years. And basically, it's sitting down at the beginning of the year and thinking throughout this year, what will come to pass? Or over the next 2 years or the next 3 years. And you can collect pictures and stick them on. You can collect words. You can draw. You can paint. But what emerges is a creativity that is unique to yourself. So what if your vision board came true? What if you put something on there, your belief around what special educational needs and disability provision would look like in your setting or for your children? How do we turn our vision into a reality? And a very interesting, clear way is to make sure that A, we talk in simple language, that we paint pictures. Metaphors and examples are really good ways of doing this. Stories. And this links to the second point, draw what we mean. It's no good having a theoretical, philosophical idea in our heads if we can't make it simple and realistic for those around the table to all get the same picture. So when we communicate, we need to be so explicit and so simple and real that actually the picture we paint is the same picture in other people. This is helped if we use memorable and meaningful images. Memorable and meaningful, not just to us, but those who are listening, those who are the audience, those who are part of our team. It's important we take into account cultural differences, because what's memorable and meaningful to us as an image may not be the same for someone else. Shine a light. That's the second dimension of taking action. Recognize the achievement of others. Celebrate. Celebrate. I said I had a quirky sense of humor. One of the things I've often done, and as a class teacher and sometimes as a trainer, if someone left the room and as they come back, I ask everyone else in the room to really cheer them on. And it's a cheering on of encouragement, and to just acknowledge that we value them and that their absence in the room was noted. Okay, so that's just a simple example of me being a little bit quirky. But think about, how do we recognize the achievement of others? Are we genuinely happy when others achieve and progress? Is that our vision? Is that what we believe in? Do we spot talent, and do we build diverse teams? When I built my team, okay, whether I was in school or my current team ADL, I looked for people with different talents, different skills. We had one core goal, we had one core mission, but we all brought something different to the table. And more importantly, when I've built teams, I've brought in people who are better than me, who know more, because I can learn from them. So this leads to the question I've posed. What are the benefits of working with others who know more than you? And finally, give others the opportunity to lead. Support them, help them grow, scaffold their growth, but let them lead. Let the children lead their own provision. And by that, I mean, let them have an input into what they need, to express how it's going, how it could be differently. Let the families lead. Talk to them and understand with them what would make a difference. Let your co-workers or your peers lead in some areas. Let them be an example and a model. This will help the team as a whole to grow. The final dimension, create awe and wonder moments. And the question I've put here is, what if you missed the sunrise moment? Every sunrise is different. Every sunrise is a special moment. But what if you missed it? And opportunities and these awe and wonder moments are like the sunrise. They come at different times, and when they're gone, because the sun is out. I remember on the 31st of August this year, just before we all came back to school, I got up very early in the morning, and I drove a little bit further away from where I live, quite a bit away from where I live, so it was a very early start, to photograph the sunrise. So the sun was rising at 7:13 that morning, and so I got to the venue just around 7, and sat in a particular place on the hills and just watched and photographed the sunrise. And it was incredible. But you know, it was over very quickly. So we need to capture those moments. Be open to the new, be open to surprises. I know surprises aren't everyone's cup of tea. And I don't mean jumping up behind someone and frightening them, but surprises in a good way. Surprises that help us think, I hadn't thought of that. Wow. It's those wow moments that we want to hear. Remembering the little details can also create awe and wonder. I've shared previously that I'm not very good at names, but I do remember the details about people. And so when a colleague rings up that I haven't spoken to in a while, and I ask about their children, that makes a difference. And in that moment, you can almost hear, oh, they remembered. My final one is around be spontaneous. Not everything has to be written down in a process in a way that is 1, 2, 3 structured. Sometimes we can be the most creative or most spontaneous. So I've presented to you so far 3 dimensions of love, around yourself, around others, and around action. And under each, I've talked about 3 things that you can do. I've also used quotations from people as well as questions to stimulate and trigger your thinking. Now you might be saying, why is this important? Loving leadership, does it really matter? Well, I'm pleased to share that there is a growing area of research in this area. And I've just cited two examples here from two different continents, one from America and one from Asia. And in the first example, which was done, research that was done in 2019, it was a small scale research, part of a bigger PhD thesis. 7 themes emerged from a qualitative study around loving leadership as a style in its own. A year prior to that, in Asia, they looked at the competency of love as aspects of physiological, emotional, spiritual, and philosophical forms of leadership. And they researched or they analysed existing research as well as the lives of various characters in history. And they came out with 13 fundamental principles that actually cover motives, traits, attitudes, behaviour around this competency of loving leadership. So there is a growing body of research around this. And I think as leaders in education, we do need to think about how do we lead by love? Because love looks like something. So just as a reminder, deconstructing love into what it means for us, what it means for what we interact with others, and what it means in terms of taking action. I want to give you 3 top tips to get you going. First of all, invest time in exploring and researching the concept of loving leadership. This isn't an airy-fairy idea. Love looks like something. What does your leadership look like? Study the lives and words of others and ask questions. Throughout, I hope you've noticed how I've used the words of others, how I've used the lives of others, and questions. When I work with leaders, I encourage them to read biographies, at least 2 a year. I have a whole shelf myself, and biographies of people from very different industries, whether they're footballers, sports personalities, they work in the business industry, or they work in mechanics, they work in the Navy. Actually, we've got a lot to learn from everyone. And being human is also part of that, is accepting we can learn from others. And finally, talk to others and ask for feedback. How do they see your style of loving leadership? Is it recognizable, or does it still need developing? So to summarize, Send is about leading with love. And my passion is around developing leaders. But love has to look like something. So love is not an emotion. Love looks like something, but it's not an emotion. Consider the 3 dimensions of love that I've talked about in terms of ourselves, of others, and the action that we take. Reflect on our approaches and experiences. By and large, the way we love others is the way that we have been loved. And it's possible some of us have come from a background of not being loved. And if that's where you're at, take time to recognize that. You can't change the past, but what we can do is be more present in where we are and build a better future. Be intentional in your loving leadership. If you're interested in some further resources and reading, I would highly recommend Loving Leadership by Richard Summerfield. He gives examples from industry and a range of industries, as well as looking at when things have gone wrong, how loving leadership has brought that together. There's also a significant amount of research around the love languages that was developed back in the 90s, and that can be used with children and adults to enhance relationships. So have a look into that. My name is Anita Devi. It's been an honor to share my thoughts with you around loving leadership. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take them. Thank you.
Hey, it's Ian here at Studio TV. Thank you so much for joining us here at Getting It Right for Me Live. Let me ask you a really quick question. Are you here because you are hoping to develop your skills and your knowledge and all your learning and understanding around supporting and caring for children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities? I assume that's what you've come here for. We hope that you're enjoying your time here with us. There's some amazing people, and we're so grateful for them coming and being part of this. And we're so grateful for you to be joining us as well. There's a couple of things I just really quickly wanted to introduce you to. First of all, don't forget that you can upgrade your ticket at any time to one of the paid tickets, which we try to keep the price as low as we possibly can, just to cover what we need to help out the speakers a little bit, and make sure this event is as good as it can be. What that means is you can access the live Q&A sessions that we're running throughout the event, and you can access all the sessions for up to a year afterwards if you buy one of those paid tickets. Check out the whole school ones. How that works is if you book a whole school ticket, and you can pay online, or you can drop us a line and we'll issue an invoice and we'll sort it all out. That's absolutely fine. But we'll then make it possible for all your staff to be able to access all the sessions here at Getting It Right for Me Live this year. So do hope that's helpful. The other thing I want to mention is, and there are lots of members joining us this week, so thank you so much to those of you who are members, but we have put together, if you're looking to go deeper and access ongoing support and help and training, either as an individual, as a parent, as a professional supporting someone with additional needs, in a school or educational setting, or from a professional point of view, we have put together here at Studio TV with Lynn McCann and her team at Reach Out ASC a fantastic membership that starts at just £10 a month and includes a wide range of courses to help you support those in your care. There's a load of resources and tools, printable things that you can use to work with those children and support them. And there's more content being added all the time. One of my favorite parts of the membership is there is a peer group community that's built into that. So you can ask questions of Lynn and her team and your peers, built right into that membership as well. As I say, it starts at just £10 a month. Whole school memberships are there. We're offering trust-wide memberships, and local authorities have started to get in touch and offer this to their staff across a range of schools as well. We would love for you to join our community. If you've got any questions on that, drop us a line, but very much hope to see you there. And thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the event.